So, Oakland, this is Mr. and Mrs. Dobbs, and they are with us today. You guys have been coming to the church for how long?
About a year, right?
I think a little over a year now at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so I have been anxiously awaiting the arrival of this baby and been wondering if he's going to come during the pandemic. And he did.
Right in the middle.
Yep.
So I thought maybe we could pick y'all's brain a little bit on like how that went. I mean, I'm sure you both were thinking the same thing. Like, I hope this is all over by the time Desi decides to show up, and counting down the days. And I think, did he come a little early, like a couple days early?
No, he actually came
right on time.
one day late.
Yeah.
He was due April 30th and he was born on May 1st at 3:20 a.m. So he's like me, he likes to be on time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, so let's talk about it. He is, what is today? It's the 14th? 13th?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so he's 12 days old.
Yeah.
What's it been like having a newborn on lockdown?
So when I was 7 months pregnant is when all this kind of started. And I'm a teacher, so I kind of knew everything headed our way because I'd been following it in other countries with my students. And I remember that I had a day where I just cried about it because I realized it wasn't going anywhere. I think I used to be really hopeful. Oh, by the time Desi's born, this will be back to normal. It'll be fine. And then I realized it wasn't going to be. It was like every appointment we had, we would find out new things that were being changed in the hospital. And I'm a planner, so it was hard. I think the hardest day was when I realized we had a doula that she couldn't come. And that was something that was just really comforting to me. So when I knew that couldn't happen, that was the day that I let myself cry about it. But then the next day I woke up and I always think about, in Psalms it talks about the different seasons. And I kept thinking, I think that Desi was meant to be born when he was born and that we could do anything together. So that gave me a lot of peace. And then I kind of just knew from there, I mean, as long as Matt could be in the room, that we would just embrace whatever happened, which we did. I had him all natural. It was a pretty easy birth. And up until that, besides them giving me a COVID test in the middle of labor, which was not fun because it felt like it touched my brain.
I saw that you wrote about that. Didn't you write a post on that about how all the things that had to occur in order for this whole process to go safely, which was you having that thing shoved up your nasal cavity?
Yeah. I felt so bad for the woman who came in to test me because I was in such active labor. She probably waited on me for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Luckily I was nice to her. I was not mean. She had to wait. It was bad.
She was a little bewildered. She was just like,
Yeah, she does not have a fun job. But I just feel like God put us with the right people. Our doctor, our labor and delivery nurse, she like transformed into a doula for me, and she was so amazing. We just had a wonderful experience. And when he was born, you just kind of forget everything else going on in the outside world. But when I got in the wheelchair and they wheeled me down to maternity, that's when it all got real again, because it was very lonely. No one could visit.
Which I don't think we, initially thought would be, as big of an issue as it wound up being. And it was just, I think, not having the support, certain things that happened, not having someone else there, not having like your sister or your mom or somebody there who had been through that to kind of help normalize things was made that experience I think a lot harder.
Yeah, and I mean, it was y'all's first baby, so it's not like like this is your benchmark now, which is kind of
we didn't really have a reference, and we're just going off of what the nurses and doctors are telling you, and
it was, once we got home, it was like day and night difference because we built a routine, and in some ways it's really nice having a newborn during all this, because we have a purpose each day and we get to just bond with him. There's no real interruptions. But it does hit me, like the last 2 days, we've actually let some family come over. We have such crazy rules. Like we're all wearing masks. They have to wash their hands. We're only letting them in a certain area of our place.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, when they leave, I feel like we're all so tired, and I get very sad. Yeah, because I realize that we don't know when we'll get to see everyone again.
Yeah.
Because we're really opening it up right now.
Yeah.
It reminds me when I was younger and I went to camp and I would get homesick. It feels kind of like that. Like you don't realize you miss people until you see them.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And then the other side of that is leaving them again. You don't get to see them until the next time.
Yeah.
What? You're a bit of a prayer warrior from what I've gathered. And so what has been your prayer in this time for both you and Matt and Desi and your family and Matt, you too? What's been your prayer during this time? Like what's kept you going?
I think for me, I'm such a big believer in the timing of everything. And I always have to remind myself that God's timing in things is different than my timing in things, but I have to trust it. So me being such a planner, when I really had to just let go of that timeline, but I do think, I do think that I would just pray all the time, like during the mornings, the day before he was born, I prayed a lot. I just kept saying a prayer that I knew that Desi and I could do anything together. There was a reason why he was being born for this. It's part of his story. So I would always pray not to be afraid, because that was really important to me, for him not to be born in fear with everything going on.
Yeah.
And that gave me a lot of peace, because I realized that it's not what I would have chosen, but I think that he's meant to be born right now, and it's a part of who he is.
Does that make you think about like the narrative you'll teach him when he's older? Like you were born in a pandemic, and because parents do that. I recall for myself and my nieces and nephews, like we tell them all the time the things of their like young nature that they can remember when they get older, and it kind of forms who they see themselves to be in our eyes. Like, have you thought about what that will look like for Desi, like what you'll teach him about this time?
Definitely. It's really funny because we gravitated towards his name without anyone really, his first name, without anyone in mind. And then we started realizing during the pregnancy how many great men share his name. Matt's dad's name was Daniel, which is Desi's middle name. Then, it's okay, Becca. We, Desmond Tutu, Desmond Decker. But then I've always loved learning the story of, oh goodness, of veterans. And I used to work in Gainesville, where they honor the Medal of Honor recipients, and we watched the story of Desmond Doss. And he was an extreme man of faith, and he was a war hero who went back. So unlikely. He refused to ever fire his gun, and he almost got kicked out, but he felt led to serve, and he ended up saving so many men's lives when everybody else deserted. And we watched that, I think when we were 7 months pregnant.
Like that, 6, 7 months.
And we realized, well, this is definitely part of our Desi's story. Like, we feel like he was meant to do great things.
Yeah.
I journal about it all the time because I want him to be able to read about the time he was born in. So I definitely think that it's all very purposeful, and it is part of his life story, whatever that will be.
That's beautiful. My internet's a little spotty, so I'm going in and out. And your family, you said you guys are going in kind of phases of visits and realizing how important that connection is. Yeah. How are they doing? Are they just like dying to meet him?
Yeah. I think the hardest has been our mom.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because there's always I know them. There's always the good with the bad.
Yeah, I
Hold Mara.
got it.
I'm gonna swing.
You want the other side, buddy? Yeah, is that better?
Is this one better?
How's that?
Even though so many people haven't gotten to physically hold him yet, we do get to FaceTime with so many family members that we probably wouldn't have been as purposeful with.
Yeah.
I have my grandparents. I have my parents, but I also have a biological dad who I love, but I just don't, just because of our past, I don't make a priority to talk to, and I have through this. So I feel like he's gotten to know Desi more than he's gotten to know any of his other grandkids. Mm-hmm. So in that way, it's a blessing because I don't know if those things would have happened otherwise. Yeah. And then my grandmother is, I can't believe this, she's almost 90 years old.
Yeah.
And she can't travel anymore. So she gets to talk to him at least 3 times a week now.
Isn't that amazing? Just technology.
Yeah. And I can tell it just makes her whole day.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's so cool. And so, Natalia, you've posted before on, I like Facebook stalk you. I guess the cat's out of the bag there. You have like sister, brother-in-law, or there's people in your family that have had babies as well recently. So Desi's got a good like crew of babies in this time.
He does. Yeah, Matt's sister already had a niece, Cameron, who's 3, and then she just had Conley. Conley is 3 months old now.
3 months old now.
I have a twin sister, and I have a nephew through her who's 4, and then she had twins in February.
January.
Oh, January. Sorry.
So they're 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah. So
4 months.
Desi already gets to FaceTime. It's like the baby brat pack. They all FaceTime each other. But we got to hold Conley today, and that makes it so real how much time has passed.
The last time we saw her would have been mid-March or second week of March or something like that.
It changed so much in that short amount.
She's about the size of Desi, and she probably weighs 15 pounds now or something like that. And it's,
wow.
It's a big.
You did a
3
baby
months
swap?
is such a big difference when they're 2 months when they're that age.
Yeah, for sure. My brother, I learned that from my brother that he, when my niece was born, he would always kind of, jokingly make fun of people who measured their kids in months. But it's because so much changes in 30 days that the difference between a 12-month-old and a 14-month-old is actually really huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Remarkable. Actually grow. Yeah.
It was insane holding Conley next to him. Just how much heavier Conley is. You realize what a blessing time is, because afterwards we said, I don't want to fast forward any of this because he's so small and I want to
really
enjoy
it.
Where he's at right now.
Well, fortunately, this is probably the best time for you to not fast forward, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's very true. Huh?
And so are you now on maternity leave from teaching?
It's so complicated. I should be, but since we're distance learning, we realized that might seem kind of silly.
Yeah.
We didn't want to get a sub, so I'm technically back. I still post.
Yeah.
I bring him in on Zoom meetings. And then I've been trying to I teach language arts, so I've been trying to just keep up with my kids in between his feedings. We've been doing digital journals, and my kids have been loving that, so we write each other every day.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to stop all of that.
Yeah. Because
so many of them really look forward to it. But I'm definitely at the point where I'm counting down to summer now.
Yeah.
You think that you'll be able to do it all just like you were before. Like, I thought I did it 9 months pregnant, but it's just so hard, especially because he's pretty easy. I feel pretty lucky. This is actually the fussiest he's ever been because he wants another bottle.
Yeah.
But I just like spending so much time with him that I kind of time in the day. And then I realized, oh yeah, there were other things besides Desmond that I was going to do today.
Mhm.
So
And so you said you had, and I'll be done after this because I know you probably need to go do stuff with him. But you're, in terms of labor, you said you did a natural birth.
yeah, that was something that I just always really wanted. I I don't know. I think for me, it's just a mental thing. I like to. I just felt very like I knew I could do that. And I knew before all this, I just felt like if I could do that and have as little interference as possible, that would be best for him and I. I would pray about it and meditate on it. And then as more and more stuff started happening, I really felt like, well, I definitely, if I can do it natural and avoid, a longer hospital stay or, um, I definitely wanted to avoid a cesarean if I could. I think that, however a woman births is incredible. Just for me personally, I just wanted to be able to do it on my own and then be able to get home as soon as possible. So we, the day that I went into labor, I knew I was having contractions, but I was still meeting with all my students. I was in a faculty meeting for a long time, and it's so, when it's your first time going through it, like I educated myself so much on what to expect, but I had this fear that I would get really wimpy and like go to the hospital way too soon, and they would be like, "You're not even that dilated. Go home."
Yeah.
We called my doula because even though she couldn't go, we would still like FaceTime and talk. But she actually never got to meet us in person because when we signed on with her is when all this was happening.
Yeah.
And she was so optimistic, like, no, it'll be fine by the time he's born. We'll still be able to be there. But so her only interactions was through the phone. And I'm very calm in crisis. It's almost scary.
Yeah.
So when I called her and I was in labor, I think she just thought that
I just thought it was a lot earlier on that.
Yeah.
I wasn't in active labor because I was a first-time mom.
And it was around dinner time, and I think she very much wanted us to not focus on it as much and try to get rest, so we're not, going to the hospital on.
She asked if I wanted to drink some wine, and I was like, no. And she tried to get me to lay down to go to bed because most first-time parents think that they're really far into labor, and they're not at all. And since I was so calm and I could still talk to her on the phone, she had no idea I was in active labor. So I tried laying down for maybe an hour. But I couldn't lay down. I was in such active labor.
I think we called her again, and then you tried a different position to land that I think was a little bit more helpful.
So by the
time
still, you got to the hospital, were they like, where have you been?
I was almost 8 centimeters dilated.
Yeah. I don't think they said it like that, but I think they were definitely, they did make a comment kind of like, oh wow, no one shows up to the hospital 7 centimeters dilated. Lucky you, kind of.
And I said when we got in the car, do you think I'm a wimp for going in right now? Because I just kept thinking, well, maybe I'm not as strong as I think I am. Like I've always thought I was very mentally strong. I was like, maybe I'm really wimpy. Like maybe I won't be able to do this. But I would always pray like with Desi, like we can do this together. We'll get through this. I had written a lot of affirmations. Some of them were really spiritual. Some of them were just like words of affirmation. Matt was so great because he got them out of the bag and he would like show them to me. But yeah, once we got there, it happened so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And it was everything that I had been hoping for. And that just felt so great because I felt like so much of what we wanted, we had hired a photographer. He's the first Dobbs boy since Matt was born.
Oh, wow. That's so
when he was really young. Yeah. And he looks just like Matt, who Matt looks just like his dad. So it just felt really meant to be, but it was really hard that like Matt's family couldn't see him right away. He's the first, our sisters, this is their first nephew.
Yeah. They haven't been aunts before. It's
first time. Yeah. And so that was really hard. We had friends from Oklahoma City who wanted to come and drive down just to see him.
Yeah.
But being able to have that moment when he was born and we were able to do it, it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it also, I just kept telling myself, I read Bob Goff's Love Doves book at the beginning of the summer, and Bob Goff always has this saying, you know, God is good all the time. And I always tell myself that when something's really hard. And I remember I kept thinking that, and I kept thinking like, okay, like each contraction is getting me closer to Desi and it will be worth it. And there were points, I didn't say it, so nobody heard me think it. There were points when I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But then, you know, he was here, and it was just, I think it happened exactly how
I
it
didn't
was
know that you
supposed
felt
to.
that you never said anything, or you just kept going with it.
Well, because I thought, I mean, there's no, I always have the mindset like you got to go through it. You know, like you can't stop. You just got to keep going.
I would have changed my life so many times.
Yeah.
So Matt was with you in the labor. He got to be with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was great too. He was exactly what I needed, which was so wonderful. And you know, it's one of those things that you have all these ideas of what you want in life and what you want to happen. I was so upset about not having my doula, but it happened so quickly when we got to the hospital. Matt was such a great coach. And then our labor and delivery nurse, McCade, was such a blessing. When she came in, I had mentioned that we were supposed to have a doula, but we didn't. And she just jumped into that role, and they worked so well together that I can't even imagine it going any other way now, because it just seemed like the perfect people around me, the perfect time. That was just so wonderful. And everything that we couldn't control, I felt like I wouldn't have wanted that any different.
I agree. Yeah.
Besides the COVID test during, I could have done without that. Yeah. But I don't have, you know, the virus, so there's that.
Yeah.
Well, you were curious.
Yeah.
Did they test you for antibodies too, or just the virus?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't. At least I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I joke now because so many people, you know, have been wanting to get tested, that all you have to do is just go into labor and you can get a test. They'll actually test you twice.
And they had the results in like 30 minutes or something.
They give you the fast acting test.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to both of you. Brand new
kid.
What a little bundle of joy. He's so sweet. Maybe by the time we're all done with this, he'll be 15 pounds heavier when I finally get to hold him.
Yeah, we can't wait to bring him. We've been missing church so much. It's so great getting to watch, though. I love that you guys are doing that.
It's really fun. I just got off a webinar on all these churches all over kind of the central North America region of the country, and like what they're doing to go back. And they all kind of said the same thing, is they have somehow tapped into something different and creative, and they don't want to give it up just to go back to do things the way we were doing them before. And I think that's like a good spirit of hope that's kind of permeating everything, not just church, but like jobs and schedules and we live our busy lives. And so yeah, I'm sure that'll be the same for you guys too in teaching. And Matt, I don't know what Matt does for a living. What does he do? What do you do, Matt?
Oh, Matt is a leasing agent, and we actually live at the property he works at. So it's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
Because he works from home, but he's at work all the time. So we both work from home, and up until Desi was born, we were pretty much working all the time. I think we work more now than before.
I definitely feel like I do.
Yeah, but we've seen that too, because like Matt's least favorite thing is technology, and he's had to embrace it, and he does not give himself enough credit. He started like all the YouTube videos for the apartment, and he's so talented. They look professional. But he really took the lead with that with his coworkers, and I don't think he ever would have before, because that was his least favorite part of his job. But he's built so many connections with potential tenants and current tenants through that. And then me too, we talk about that all the time with teaching. Like, I miss the classroom so much, but I I've gotten so close to so many students through our use of distance learning that we're constantly thinking about how can we keep that going when we're back in the classroom as well. So it will be really interesting just how we all evolve from this.
Mhm.
And that makes me excited, despite everything else going on. I definitely don't want to lose that, because in some weird way, I feel a lot closer to people because our time is so precious.
Yeah, I completely.
I think Matt will be really excited not to use technology every day, though.
Yeah, for sure. I'm more confident with it now than I was. But yeah, I'm excited to.
Well, that's a good thing, I
guess. Yeah.
Well, you guys enjoy your evening. Thank you so much for introducing us to Mr. Desmond Dobbs. Desmond Daniel Dobbs, right?
Desmond Daniel Dobbs, 3D.
And congrats again to you, Natalia, and to Matt. Brand,
thank you so much.
Those Padres. And we can't wait to see him in person and see you guys in person again soon. And so thanks everybody for tuning in to this digital article, and send your congratulations to the happy couple. Post in the comments and wish them well and wish blessings on Desi. So have a good night, y'all. I will hopefully see you soon.
Thank you so much.
you.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.